Okay, guys, this is test 2. Look at checking it out. Very careful here. You have f of x minus 2x to the fourth. Question says graph the polynomial. So you should know that you got to find zeros. Anytime you try to find a zero, you know you set that equal to 0. But since you have 1/2, you got to find the pieces. Whenever you factor out a fraction, you just multiplying by the inverse. The inverse is 1/2 is 2. So 2 times a half makes this x squared minus 2 times 2 is 4. You should always check your answer. 1/4 x to the 4th times x squared is 1/2 x to the 6th. 1/2 to x4 times 4 is 2x to the 4. Now, you take each piece, set it equal to 0. Even with that 1/2 there, x to the 4th, you know by setting that equal to 0, multiply both sides by 2, you're going to end up with x to the 4th equals 0. Take the square root. So now you know you got x equals 0 with multiplicity of being what? 4. So that tells me that's going to be a bounce. Now you go back over here, set x squared minus 4 equals x squared minus 4, set that equal to 0. You know you get x squared equals 4. Take the square root. That tells you that you have x equals plus or minus 2. That's 2 zeros, and both of their multiplicities is 1. Come over here. You know you have a 0 at 0. Change that color for a second. You know you have a 0 at 2. Change that color for a second. You know you have a 0 at 2 again. Now, watch what happens. You know your y-intercept is 0, so we don't know what that point is. I'm going to stick in the value 1. I get, or even, stick in the value 1. That gives me 1/2 minus 2 by sticking in a 1. 1/2 minus 2 gives me minus 1/2. So that tells me I'm down here somewhere. I did that simply to remind myself that when I get to that point, I'm going to start here, go through this point here, bounce, turn around, hit that point, got to turn around and go through. There's my arrows. I now know that my end behavior right here is always, what is y doing? Y is approaching infinity as x approaches negative infinity. X is approaching infinity, negative infinity, because we're looking for the left hand end behavior. As y approaches, what is y doing on the right hand side? Y is going what? Up. So y is going to infinity as x is going to infinity. Because the question is right hand end behavior. What are we doing? We're going to the right. Sketch the graph. You should have liked this one because I already gave you factored form. X equals negative 2 is a 0. Multiplicity is 1. X equals negative 1. Multiplicity is 2. Set 2x minus 3 equals 0. So that should tell you that 2x, that's a funny looking 3, equals 3. Divide by 2. Divide by 2. X equals 1/2. His multiplicity is 1. Multiplicity is the degrees. Remember, we like to find the y-intercept while we're here. Put in a 0 for x. That tells me I have 2 times 1 times negative 3. So my y-intercept is going to be negative 6. Plot that point. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There he is. Intercept at 1/2. Intercept at negative 1. Intercept at 1/2, negative 1, and negative 2. Ask yourself, what's going to happen take place at those points? Well, we know, let's zoom in very close. Ooh, that's very close. We know we're going to go here, go through this one, because his multiplicity is 1. We know here, sorry, that's 1.5. So actually, that guy right there should do what? He should bounce, because his multiplicity is what? His multiplicity is he should bounce at 1.5. Sorry, my mistake. He should go through because his multiplicity is 1. The only bounce we should have is at -1. So he's going to bounce, turn around, and go through. Notice the degree is 1 plus 2 plus 1 is 4. So both end behaviors are going to be doing the same thing. Here comes page 2. Notice what you have here. You have 4 terms. Anytime you have 4 terms, you should all try to group. I'm going to pull out an x cubed. I'm going to be left with x minus 2. I'm going to put out a minus 8. I'm going to be left with x minus 2. Always check it by doing what? Multiplying. Excuse me. Now, Mama said look at 2 bites at a time. Okay, this piece right here shouldn't be here. Let's erase that for a second. Go back to my pen, pencil, kill the twins. I now have x cubed minus 8 times, put back a twin because I feel guilty. Now, you set each piece equal to 0. You have x cubed minus 8 equals 0. You have x minus 2 equals 0. So therefore you have x equals 2. Gotta go back. Remember how to factor a cubic. That becomes x minus 2, because what's being cubed? 2 minus what? X squared minus 2 times x plus 4. Some of you guys are asking, where are you getting that 2 from? What number gives me 8? 2 cubed gives me 8. X cubed minus 2 cubed. And go look at the formula. Now, set that equal to 0. This piece will never give you a 0. So my zeros got to be x minus 2, and it's a double root. Set that equal to 0. X minus 2 equals 0. That's a double root. This would have been nasty to graph. That's why I told you don't worry about graphing it. So you shouldn't have to graph it. Alright, going to page 3. F of x is equal to 1/3 x squared minus 6x plus 8. It says vertex form. So that should tell you right there that you want to complete the square. F of x is equal to, oh, the pen's acting stupid, but we'll see what happens. Minus 1/3, we're going to pull that out. You have x squared minus, got a 3, so that means you can multiply that 6 by 3, get 18x plus the blank equals plus the 8. You're working on this side, so you add a blank spot, so you must what? Take away a blank spot. Okay, let's clean that up a little bit. We're going to go back and take away that blank spot. Oops, pencil, pen, minus blank. That tells me that I have minus 1/3. Half the middle term is 9 squared becomes 81. Check with the gatekeeper. That becomes a minus 27. So we're going to put a minus 27 in here. So that becomes a plus 35. That forces my vertex. So this answer here should be minus 1/3 x minus 9 squared plus 35. That's vertex form, so you can get your vertex. Opposite the h, 9 comma 35. Now let's go down here and find the y-intercept. Y-intercept should be no big deal. Stick in a 0 for x. Therefore you get 0 comma 8. You're only going to have one y-intercept. That's why it's a function. X-intercept says set that equal to 0. Well, I can go all the way back to the beginning. I know this thing is going to be minus 1/3 x squared minus 6x plus 8. Multiply equals 0. Multiply by 3 and change that sign. I get x squared plus 18x minus 64. Unfortunately, I don't think that guy factored. So let's come over here, and I think I had to use the beast on that one. I know I'm going to have 2 roots because this is positive 8. So if I did a quick sketch, it's going to be positive 8. He's going to go down, so I got to cross somewhere. So that's probably going to be x equals minus, nasty, x equals minus 18 plus or minus the square root of 18 squared minus 4, and so on and so on. That's messy. So why don't we jump over here, get us a clean piece of paper. Actually, I'm going to come down here and do it right here. I have minus 1/3 x squared. Was that a minus 6x? Minus 6x plus 8. Minus 6x plus 8 equals 0. Multiply everything by negative 3 gives me x squared plus 6x minus 24 equals 0. That's a 24, not a 29. Multiplying everything by negative 3, that gives me a minus 6 plus or minus the square root of 6 squared minus 4 times 1 times minus 24 over 2 times a. My a is what? 1. That gives me minus 6 plus or minus square root 36 squared. 4 times 24 is 96 plus 36. I think that turned out to be 132 over 2, because that's 96 plus 36. Yeah, that's 132. That turned out to be 6 plus or minus the square root of 4 goes into 32. Four goes into 132. 34 times. Is that right? Yeah, 4 times. Nope. 4 goes into 13. 3 times 4 is 12. 33 times. So that gives us minus 6 plus or minus 2 square root of 33 over 2. Go back and check my answer to make sure that's good. Looks a little funny. Minus 3 plus 2. 2's cancels. 3's cancels because that's 6 over 2. And plus or minus 2 square root of 33 over 2. So that gives me minus 3 plus 2 plus square root of 33. Should be my roots. Let's hit the pause button for just a second and confirm that. This right here should be a minus 24, just like we had down here. 24 6 squared 96 Bounce over here for a second. Gonna pause. Actually, it's no big deal. Taking a mathway for those guys who hadn't seen mathway before. Type it in just like that. I think it was negative -1 divided by 3 space. Let's give us that 3. Tab x raised to the 2 minus, minus 6x minus 8. So that gave me my 24. Was it plus 8? Because that gave me my minus 24. So that should have been 36 minus 4ac. Set that equal to 0. So when we set that equal to 0, let's confirm it. Yeah. X squared plus 6x minus 24. Minus x squared minus 6. Because we multiply by -3, right? But that's the original was minus 1/3 x squared minus 6x plus 8. So if we find those zeros, it should ask me, solve for x. Kill that. It gets -9 minus 105. And I think that's what I have, but why do I have a different answer? Multiplied by -3. That should give us x squared minus plus 18x minus 24. When I multiply by that 3, I forgot to make this a 18x because you're multiplying this by 3. This guy right here should have been 18x. So that went to trash. I knew that looked unfamiliar. That's why. So when I go back through, let's erase all this crap. Let's make it big. Ink flow heavy. So now when we go back and use the beast here, our answer really should have been, go back to here, find the zeros, -9 plus or minus 105. There we go. And that's what I remember on the test now. So that tells me that this answer right here should have been -9, should have been -9 plus or minus square root of 105, and I can approximate that being -9 plus or minus 10 point something. I'm going to say 10.2 because square root of 100 is 10, so it's going to be a little bit more than 10. So that should be -19.2 or 1 or 0.8. Remember, all this is trash. So that now should tell me that that guy should be over here somewhere. My Y-intercept was at +8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And he went down here somewhere. So, ooh, that's nasty. We're going to undo that. So we're going to do a nice pretty curve. Straight down, straight down. You get the point. So your domain is what? Minus infinity to infinity. And your range should be that high point. And once again, you can try to complete the square, find the maximum, or you can use or you can use minus b over 2a. I still like to use, actually it's already in vertex form, so my high point is 35. So that tells me that my range is going to be negative infinity to negative infinity to 35. And that's a bracket because you touch that high point. Might need to redo that page. I'm going to let it stay for now, but we'll see what happens. Okay, this says find all the zeros of p, right? So it's a cube. You have to have full representation. X cubed plus 0x squared minus 2x plus 4. Since this is a 4 and this is a 1, I know my possibles are 1, 2, and 4. Plus or minus, plus or minus, plus or minus. I'm going to try minus 2 first. 1, 0, minus 2, 4. See what we get. Minus 2, minus 2, that becomes 4. 4 times that is 2. Minus 2 times 2 is minus 4. That becomes 0. So that worked. So now that tells me that x equals minus 2 is a 0. I'm going to try now have x squared minus 2x plus 2 comes from the bottom. X squared minus 2x plus 2. That should be able to factor to x minus 1. X minus 1. So that gives me x equals 1 as a solution also. X squared minus 2x plus 2 equals 0. So that's x minus 1, x minus 1. So that gives me x squared minus x minus x minus 2x plus 1. Okay, let's clean this up a little bit. I can't see that. I know you can't see it. If I go back here, we got x equals minus 2. I'm left with x squared minus 2x plus 2. You can't factor that because that 2 gives you a 1 minus 2, which is minus 3. No middle term. We can use the b's, but I already know that this guy is going to have a plus 2 here. He's going to be a bowl up Y-intercept, so he's not going to have any other real solutions. So x equals minus 2 is my only real solution. Find all the zeros. Once again, what are you going to do? Pull out what's in common. You can pull out what? An x. What are you left with? 4x squared plus 9 equals 0. So that tells you that x equals 0. 4x squared plus 9 equals 0. 4x squared equals minus 9. Divide by 4, divide by 4. X squared equals minus 9 over 4. Square root, x equals plus or minus 3 over 2i. That one doesn't count because why? Because it's imaginary. That means it will not cross the x-axis, so it can't be a 0. I pulled out an x right here, so x equals 0. So x equals 0 is my only 0. Its multiplicity is 1. Multiplicity is 1. Cool. Going down here a little bit more, find all the zeros. 2 pieces at a time. I'm going to try to pull out a what here? 2 piece there, 2 piece there. We're going to try to pull out a x squared, x cubed, right? Going to be left with x squared plus, actually I can pull out an x cubed. Going to be left with x squared plus 1. Right? We're going to pull out an 8. We're left with x squared plus 1. Kill the twins. I'm left out with an x cubed plus 8. And I'm going to be left out with an x squared plus 1. You factor this, x squared, set that equal to 0. So that gives me x squared equals minus 1. Take the square root, x equals plus or minus I. That's imaginary, not a solution, not a 0. X plus 2, x squared plus, x plus 2, right? X plus 2, x squared minus 2x plus 8. That guy didn't give me my 0. This guy gives me my 0. So only 0 must be x equals minus 2 multiplicity of 2. You need to go back and review that difference of cubes and the sum of two cubes rule. Find all asymptotes. First thing you want to do what? Factor top, factor bottom. Top factors down to x minus 1 over x minus 1. I can take out an x squared. I'm left with an x minus 3, right? Nothing cancels, so my vertical asymptotes are x equals 0. My horizontal asymptote, x equals 0 and x equals 3. Horizontal asymptote degree on top is smaller than the bottom, so he must be y equals 0. Since he has a horizontal, oblique does not exist. Some of you guys left this blank. I counted right, but you want to put does not exist or 0 slash. Scrolling down to the bottom, that's it for that page. This is page number 6. Find the intercepts and find the asymptotes. Intercepts plugged in at 0. You're going to have two types. You're going to have what? Y-intercept and the what? X-intercept. X-intercept, set it equal to 0. Y-intercept, plug in a 0 everywhere you have an X. Vertical asymptotes, horizontals. I'm going to save this one for tomorrow. Just wanted to get you something started. Okay. Part 2 will be up tomorrow. Thanks.